Hey everyone, it's K-Red, and today I have a special peaceful pattern for you. It's called Camber, it's by Donna Stanchfield, and it is gorgeous. This is the best of what Zentangling has to offer. Super easy tile, you'll learn the pattern in seconds. In fact, it's so quick, make sure you stay to the end, and we turn this peaceful pattern into a full Zentangle inspired art. We color it, take it all the way, and it turns out to a real cute tile. So here's a sneak peek, but first let's start at the beginning. Hi everyone, it's K-Red, and welcome to my 2025 Peaceful Patterns Weekly Challenge. By creating a new tile each week, together we can learn something new or be reminded of an old favorite, but most important, find some peace and calm in the chaos of this world. Alrighty, so what we're going to make is a form of a diamond almost. We're going to go 2 lines where they poof out just a little bit and make the top of a triangle. And then we're going to go 2 lines where they poof in a little bit for the bottom of the triangle. That's all there is for step 1 and all there is for the base. Once we have that, let's go ahead and reproduce it for our second. Poofed out a little, poofed in a little. Let's make sure I switch to my red pen. I appreciate all of you who have joined me this year in the peaceful patterns. As you know, I like to forget to switch to a red pen, so I have. I use the red pen to help differentiate the different steps. And all I'm doing are 3 to 5, depending on what fits, depending on the size of your shape, some lines going from the top right to the bottom left. Now, of course, you could draw from the left to right, whatever's most comfortable for your hand. Make sure you're going to want to leave some room in the middle, so you don't want to go all the way up to the center. You just go up a little ways. And that's it for step 2. Now, for my next step out, I am going to go ahead and include what is really probably steps 3 and 4. For step 3, all we do is go from the top. I'm going to go ahead and turn my card just a little bit to make it easier for my hand. And we're going to go from the top down. Once again, 3 or 4, but we're going to want to leave that center open. And then we're going to want to do the same thing on the left side. So because I turned my card, to me it looks like left and right. On here it can look like these tops or bottoms, however that looks in your frame, in your mind. And that is it for step 3. Step 4. The nice thing about doing these step outs is I get such good practice doing each of the steps that it really helps solidify it in my mind. So I encourage you to do a card where you do these step outs because it really helps you remember the steps. 1, 2, 3. Having problems talking and drawing, so I want to draw a little more carefully, so sometimes I'll pause my speech. But I encourage you to do these step outs so that you can have them in the future. You can have them in your mind. They'll come to thought as you are doing your drawings. Remember to draw your lines slowly and carefully. It's something I always am working on. Purposeful, even lines that start and end where I intend them to. But that is the pattern. It is just that beautiful. Like I said, the best Zentangle patterns or the best tangles, for my opinion, for doodling are the easy ones that can be put together to make something great. So just so we can see them all together, we have a chance to play with some shading. I think what I'd like to do is go ahead and do 2, see if I can get them to touch, kind of, side by side. Now, of course, my sizes aren't exact. I just eyeballed it. But I just wanted to have 2 so we could kind of show what they look like together. So on both of these, I'm going to start by doing pattern or step 2, which are these lines on the bottom. And these. Remembering to breathe. I have to remind myself to breathe, to slow down, to make my lines matter. To remind myself that it's not important to be done with the art project I'm working on or the doodle I'm working on. But what is important is to calm my mind, to calm my spirit, to focus on things that are good and positive and happy. So easy for us to only focus on the negative. And now I'm going to do that final step, which was step 4 in my step outs. And look at that. So, so cute. All right, so let's go ahead and just add a little bit of shading. We're going to go ahead and shade where the top and the bottom of each one. There's lots of different ways to shade. There's no right, there's no wrong. I'm using a 3B pencil is what I picked up this time. But to be honest, I tend to shade with just whatever I have handy and I pick up that's close. And we're going to go ahead and use a little blending tool. I am not a big fan of sharp lines on my shading. For the most part, there's time and a place that I will, but for the most part, so I almost always do quite a bit of shading. And let's go ahead and do the other one as well. Now on that one, I didn't put any pencil on the bottoms here, but I have plenty on my blending stick from the others that it picks up as the transfer, so that is no problem. And then I really like when shading has a nice sharp center. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to give myself nice sharp centers. Sometimes it's hard on these cards because they're kind of tiny. If you're interested in these cards, I have them linked in my store. I am just a little baby channel, so if you like to like or subscribe, it sure would help me a lot. So I don't get any benefit from you using those links. Feel free to use them. I'm not monetized. I don't get anything from Amazon. These are just the things that I use. And so I've been honored that people have asked me what I used in the past, so I'll have them linked in there. But there we go. What do you think? I think it's gorgeous. I know I'd mentioned that I don't really like having a dark single line where you can see the lines, but how cute would it be if we added a really dark solid line? I'm using an actual pencil. In fact, this was gifted to me by a friend. It's a 0.5 lead. And just put a real solid line underneath it just to help it pop out a little bit. And then my blending is really going to be very basic, just really to smooth it out just a small amount. And there, I like it. I like it. It gives it a little bit more dimension that way as well. So let's go ahead. I know I promised you that I would make a little design up here. I did take that design right off tanglepatterns.com. Donna Stanchfield went ahead and used it as an example of how these could be used. I loved it so much, I wanted to give my hand at it. But first, let's flip the card over, put on the name of the Tangle, which is Camber. And as I said, it is by Donna. And of course, I found it and my inspiration on tanglepatterns.com. Once again, I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but tanglepatterns.com I think is a great place for beginners and advanced alike to go to for inspiration and ideas. And there is that pattern. So let's get started on the fun variation. So to do this variation, I am going to start with the lines on the card. I just wanted to give myself kind of a leeway, something to get started with, make things easier for me. I will erase these before I do any shading. But I have found that I need a little extra help when it comes to my dimensions. I am not a natural artist. I've been blessed with things that I do well, but creativity and art is not something that I do well. So I have, along the ways, found ways to give myself just a little bit of a leg up so that I can create things that I can enjoy and that I don't feel as hypercritical about. So what I did is I did a pencil line from corner to corner, and then, what did I measure? Was it probably a 1/2 inch? It's just whatever the marking was on this ruler. Yeah, it looks to me like it's probably a 1/2 inch or something along those lines. And I did 4 lines out, and then I did 4 in. And this way, when I'm doing them, I can at least have guides on where to stop so things can be the same size. That is often real important. So I'm going to be doing my camber pattern. So I'm going to keep my step out real close so that I can remember it. And the way it's going to go on this card is kind of upside down. So my poofed out part is going to start from the beginning. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the poofed out side to the first line, and then the caved in one to the bottom. And we're going to do that 4 times. Now, do you see how these lines really just help me know where to stop and start? And that one I made a little too skinny, but it'll be okay. It'll work out in the end. If I was doing this where I wanted to frame it or where I wanted to give it as a gift, I could have added more lines to make sure that they were all the same width as well. But the truth is, that's not why I do art. I do art so I can enjoy it and I can have fun. And sometimes that means giving myself some extra lines so that it's still fun and it's not difficult. So now we're going to do what is step 1. Step 2, we did step 1. So step 2 are those bottom lines on the incave. So remember, we're upside down. So we're going to start here. You know, there's a lot of times where people will ask me how they can, they don't ever want to finish a project. They'll start it and they won't like it, or their inner voice will tell them it's not as good as it could be or should be or as good as somebody else would do. And I always encourage them to have a twofold approach to it. One, to keep going. Don't let that inner voice win. Sometimes you're going to find that you're going to like it far better than you thought you would have if you just keep going. It'll work itself out. Some of these errors that seem so blatant to our eyes aren't blatant and clear to anybody else's eyes. Hold on one moment, I'm sorry. I just needed to concentrate on that line there a little bit. You can see I'm getting a little sloppy as I was talking. So I try hard not to let it. I can't tell you that I don't ever do it because in the interests of transparency or honesty, this was my first attempt. And my first attempt isn't bad. I look at it today and it's okay. I looked at it yesterday and I was really bothered. I was bothered by the waviness of my lines. I was bothered by where they didn't match. I'm going to have that same bothering here because you can see they're not matching too, and that the lines are wavy. So some of the things that I did to try to make myself a little more successful than last time is I gave myself an extra line to help them be the same size. And I made it a slightly smaller. I have found that for my hand, if it's a smaller shape, it is easier to do a line straight. And so I can't tell you that I don't ever redo, because I do. I forgot where I was. What one was I looking on? Help me, people. So this one's done, and that is done. So this one there, and then I'm up here. Thank you for the help. So I do restart them. I do try to be kinder to myself when I'm doing these videos and I'm talking, because it is a lot harder to control my breathing, to control my anxiety once my mouth starts going. Once I start talking, I tend to make them not quite as nice as I think I could if I wasn't talking. But the truth is, I enjoy talking to you all. I enjoy putting my thoughts down on paper. I imagine you all in there, the people who have left me comments. I think about you. I think about my family. And it's just nice to have this running conversation, even though it's on YouTube and it is rather one-sided. So now we've finished number 3, and we're going to move on to number 4. And once again, I overshot my lines a little bit. I can't even blame it on having the wrong glasses on. I have the right. I put my readers on, so I do have the right glasses on. I just missed it. Now, one thing that I wasn't as careful on here is counting the number of lines I made. So if you notice, it's off because I'm not done yet. I thought that one was off because my lines, but it was off because I hadn't finished. There we go. So even though I didn't count, my insides are slightly different, but that's okay because my widths are slightly different too, so that will make a difference in it. But for the most part, I think it looks nice. I think it looks well. So since we're talking about some of the things that I do to help control my inner critic, is sometimes, now hopefully I won't ruin it, so we're going to take a picture of this here, where it's at. So if all I can enjoy is this, I'll enjoy this. But what I'll often do is if on the outsides I'm not real happy with how things meet and such, I will, with a very thick pin, go across the outside with a trace of the line. Now we'll see if this ends up being a mistake. Sometimes it is. But even if it is, it's fun. And sometimes a thick line can hide a multitude of sins. The shading that we'll do can often help hide a multitude of misstops or overextending a line than where you would have wished you had stopped. But there, see? It's like a form of shading to put that nice dark black border on. Now we can decide, do we want that same dark border on the inside to really accentuate it? Here's my pattern. Do we want it to be open? How do we want it to be? I think I do want it dark just because I haven't done that yet, and I'm kind of curious what it would look like. So let's find out together. And then you can decide if you decide to make this project, and if you do, I would love if you chose to share it with me so I could see and learn from you. What you decide to do, whether you decided to add this bold inside. Now this bold inside isn't to cover up a multitude of sins like the outside one was, because there weren't really that many lines on the inside to cover, but as much as it was to give a definition, and I really like that. So now this is where we're going to vary just a little bit from Tangle Patterns, which is the great thing about doodling. We get to make it our own. And I'm going to just go off now and do some things that are a little bit different to that. That's what makes it a Zentangle inspired art, right? They call it a ZIA. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an aura as carefully as I can all the way around. I have a super thin pen. It's an 03 because I wanted it to be soft. That might turn out to be a mistake. I should maybe have done one that was a little bit thicker, but we'll see. I'm focusing on the ones that I know are supposed to go in and the ones that are supposed to have gone out, so that as I do my aura, I can do that same thing. And there we go. What a fun little shape. So what should we do next? going to go ahead and go back to my PN pin, which is what I believe I used in the middle. And I'm just going to add a few arches in here. I always think that looks great. It's one of my favorite things to do. I am counting out 5 of them. And hopefully they will all look somewhat spaced the same when I get done. Yeah, ish. Not too bad. So what do you think? Should I do another aura around these now? I think I will. So I'm going to pop up a little higher. And then I always like to have a space to shoot for. So if I go out what looks to visually be about the same distance from each of my spots, then I kind of am able to see without moving my pen where to go. Now this of course could be done in pencil. All these little cheats I do to try to help a hand that doesn't have the pen control and the eye control, the natural eye to do that in there. The honest truth is that if your pen control is not what you would like it to be, just keep doing patterns like this. There's some others that are out there that would be really good for it. And just do them thousands and thousands of times, over and over on a page, over and over on a project, having a border to be just a whole bunch of lines together and such. And that will really help improve. It's kind of fun. What do you think? I'm liking it. So should I do more to it or should I leave it like this? I'm tempted. Let me do it in pencil first. A lot of times when I'm doing these, and I think I want to try something that might be a little crazy and ruin it, especially on a project like this, I'm actually enjoying the way it looks, is to add something like this that goes up to the corner. All of you know this is one of my favorite shapes. I use it, my goodness, every time. It is without a doubt my go-to. I like how it makes it a little bit more of a flower. I really do like that. What if we did it as 2? Now, when I very first started, I don't know, close to 14 years ago, when I first found Zentangle, when I first found doodling, I would pretty much do an entire project in pencil. And then after it was done in pencil, I would go back and do it in pen. I would just trace back over it in pen. Definitely not the Zentangle method. So Zentangle people, please don't be mad at me. But that's what I needed to do to feel like I liked it. And what it really did is give me double practice. I'm wanting this filled in now. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick because it is distracting my eye from doing anything else and distracting my thought process. So as I'm doing these, and if there's something that's just really pulling on me, then that's what we'll do there. So let's go ahead I like it. I like it a lot. Kind of want a circle just because it would match those circles. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself a decent sized center. And I think that's kind of fun. Now there's different things I can do in here. I can do some lines. I think that would look sharp in there. I could get out my colored pencils and add a lot of color to this project. I could do color shadings on each of these petals and then a color shading on the inside. I can add something on the outside of all these, or I could do one more aura that would overtake it all. Gosh, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. What would you do? I'm tempted to continue this circle accent onto each of these edges, on just the outside ones, not these inside ones, but just these outside ones, so they can have a good strong circle. Oh, I'm close to doing that one. But I think what I will do before that is, I don't think I'm going to do the lines on the inside. I think I'm going to put some color on it. As I'd mentioned in another one, my husband always likes the color ones. I always think my husband is right. Well, often I think my husband is right as he's listening to this. Most of the time he is right. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and erase all these lines. And let's do some colored pencils. Alrighty, that didn't take too long. Alrighty, so the colored pencils I'm using, I got for this year for Christmas. They're Prismacolor pencils, which are pricey and fabulous. They were found on Amazon, greatly reduced at Christmas time. So that's how I got gifted these, but they are a lot of fun. It comes with 2 trays. And the reason I like these is they are what do they call it? A soft core colored pencil. And so they're very blendable. So I can easily transition from one color to another. So what should we make our base color in these? Should they be purple or blues or greens or reds and pinks? What if we did pinks and purples? Let's see. So I selected out, one's upside down, not sure if you can see these, hopefully you can. I've selected out 2 purples and 2 of the pinks. I would like the white probably, and let's go ahead and do this light one here and maybe even a little bit of a blue in case our purples aren't quite purple enough. So then I have to decide, do I want purple on the outside and pink on the inside? Spoiler alert, I do. So I think we're going to start with purples on the outside and pinks on the inside. Then the next decision is, do we go from light to dark or dark to light? I think I'm going to go dark to light. So let's start with the purples since that's where we're beginning. And let's start, this looks like my darkest one. And we're just going to do some coloring. Really not a whole lot to talk about with coloring. I'm going to do my darkest on the bottom. I'm going to do the lightest on the top. I'll put some in the middle and then I'll blend and add and blend and add and blend and add. Once I have one where it's about where I like it, I will go ahead and move on to the next one. And then try to make them somewhat cohesive. On this first one, you'll notice I'm not coloring hard by any means, and I am not completely covering it. You can see quite a bit of white through it. I went and I got a brand new unused blending stick, a tortillon or they're called something like that, and I'm just going to start blending. Now when you blend, I recommend that you try hard to stay away from the black because it will pick up on that tortillon some. I like it when you can see that color just kind of stretch down into each other. those white spots as I blend go away. If you haven't played with these soft colored pencils before, and you're able to give yourself a splurge with either a holiday gift or saving up for them, or they fit in your budget, I think it is worth it. I'm going back along that outside edge, trying to give myself a little bit more of a dark. I'm going to bring that dark up a little bit higher to meet. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the pink. I'm going to try to go a little bit darker at the top. And then I'm going to try to pull it down a little bit more into that middle blend. And then this I'm going to do on the sides, just so we can try to do away with all of that white. And that top isn't blending in quite as well as I would have liked. Let's see where we can get it. There we go. See how that blended a little bit better going from side to side? I kind of got rid of the clear lines of where one is, kind of going against the pencil stroke. There, what do you think? So now, let's see if I ruin it. I hope not. I think it'd be great fun to add in some white. So it has just like a light spot, right? What do you think? Good idea? Bad idea? I just spent so much time blending it. Now I'm going to add, to get rid of all the white, now I'm going to add a little bit of light to it. So we'll see. On these we'll do it. If I don't like it, I can always just come back in with that middle color. I can cover it up. I can not do it on the others. These are all options that I have. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and turn on some music. I'm going to play with some color for a while, and we will see y'all back in a few. Alrighty, I kind of got a little carried away with myself, and I forgot to talk. So just to get you caught back up, I did the outside with the purples, the inside with the pinks. I felt like this line got washed out, so I'm back to my 1-2 pen, where I'm going to make that significantly darker. I really wanted something done with this And I didn't really want another color on it. I added some of the purple that was on my pencil on here. And I am going to continue to work on trying to make sure that the edges have that purple shading. I don't have that quite to where I'm happy with it now. But I wanted to walk away and come back. But I definitely want the edges on that to be a little bit darker to work like the shading. I'll probably come back in with my eraser on there. I like that dark line there. Then I'm okay with that inside. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add the dark out here as well. I have a slight pink in there. I will probably come back into that area with my blush pencil. This color right here. And put a little bit more color on that. I do wish I'd done that in something a little bit stronger than a 3. I don't know if you remember when I first did it. I kind of thought it may have been lighter than what I would want, and it is, but I think it works out okay. I know I talked about doing some circles on the ends here. Let's go ahead and do that. Not sure if I'm going to be glad that I did, but I can't get it out of my mind, so when I keep thinking about doing something and can't get it out of my mind, I distract myself, and when I come back, it's still in my mind, so then I just do it. And I do like it because it does bring in those middle ones and hopefully makes it a little, I don't know, cohesive, perhaps is the right word. So let's add a little bit of this out here. So this, I did it with what was left over of the pink on the pencil, on my blending stick, I mean. But I just don't think it's quite enough, and I know on camera it doesn't show up well, but even here under the lighting it's not showing up great. So let's give that just a little bit of a touch. You know, I'm almost tempted. Let's do it. Let's do that same touch right in here. We'll use the pink end of the pencil, and as needed, I'll come back in and blend the pink a little bit more to keep adding a little bit of pink. So this won't be a peachy. It'll have more of a pink tinge to it without actually putting on it. I'm making sure that I use the side of the pencil because I wanted it to be super soft. And I think that is going to help me a lot to get to where I'm heading because I had a little problem with that being so white. So let's make sure I got plenty of pink on there. And then we're going to go in and do this shading. If in the end it's still a little too more peach than I would want, I'll just come in real soft with the pink pencil. Yeah, I like that. That kind of broke up that white in there. Now I don't mind that one white streak. I'm going to attempt to do the shading well enough that it will pretty much cover all of the white. Let me get a little bit more of that pink on there. And what do you think? Is it an okay color or should it be a little pinker? We're going to go just a little pinker. I don't know. We'll see. If I was doing this on something that I wanted to frame or to give away, it's always kind of my indication of how careful I am on my patterns. You could always try these colors out on a scrap piece of paper. And now they're never going to be exact because we're just adding it in here, but you could get a better idea of what works and what doesn't work, what you think blends and what you don't think blends. So if you're doing a project and it's a gift or something frameable, or you just really want to put a little bit more time into it than I am, then and you feel insecure with your colors, that is a great way to try some new things out, see what colors you like, learn more about color blending. That is an art in and of itself, and I think it's just great. So there we go. That is how we took our peaceful pattern of Camber and turned it into a Zentangle inspired cute little, I don't know, looks to me almost like a flower since I added those outside wings. This is the original one. So we kind of went from here with Donna's descriptions on that I got to and I found through tanglepatterns.com, connecting me to the site where Donna had her instructions. This was an example, of course without those lines, but this is an example of what she, one of the things she did. She has a few on there, they're gorgeous. And this is kind of where I took it from, where I made it into kind of this shape and played with some color on a nice, fun Saturday. So, oh, I was going to go back in and blend this a little bit more. Look at, whenever I think I'm done, I get pulled back in. I want to encourage you, put on some music, spend some time using your brain in a way you don't normally or don't during the week. If you have a kind of an analytical job or a job where there's not as much creativity in it, spend a little time this weekend or spend a little time on your day to really push those creative juices. So I went in and tried to do a little bit of a highlight into the center of each one so that hopefully it can catch some light and bring some light in. I forgot to do that. I get excited to be done. So there we are. Thank you for joining me today. Please leave me a comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see where we go on the next one. Bye.